Three COVID vaccine doses, 99% effective against Omicron, Delta, and hospitalization. Let's talk about it. Before we get going, I do want to say ETM Hotel Rennie Sean, welcome in peace. My name is Sean. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to Science with Sean. I have the original study, which was published in Nature a few days ago. This is again the effectiveness of mRNA 1273 against SARS-CoV-2 Omicron and Delta variants. I'm not going to get specifically into the original article, as you can see, but I am going to give you some via breakdown to go ahead and get into specifics. So the actual whole, just so you know what's going on, that's where the study comes from. All right. So published in the University of Minnesota CDROP, which is the Center of Infectious Disease Research Policy, on the 22nd of 2/22/22, which was yesterday. The study determined, and we're going to go over some key points in this particular study. Let me zoom in and let you get a closer view. So that should draw you up a little bit. I should do PDF, but I didn't want to go that route. I do have the sources in the link in the description of the video in case anybody want to grab them and dig a little bit deeper. But 3 doses of mRNA Moderna 1273 vaccine were more effective against infection with SARS-CoV-2 Delta variant than against Omicron, which we knew, but were highly protective against hospitalization with either subtype, according to a study published yesterday in the Journal of Nature. All right. So there was a team that was led by Kaiser Permanente Southern California Research Group that conducted the test negative case control study of among 26,683 COVID cases caused by Delta or Omicron variants in December of 2021. Of all the cases, 16% were Delta, 84 were Omicron. The incidence of Omicron infections in Southern California increased from 1.2 to 94% between December 6th and the 31st. All right, so here's what they determined and found in the study. Higher effectiveness against the Delta infection, of course. 1 dose of the vaccine was 56.7% effective, meaning if you only had 1 dose of the vaccine, right, against the Delta variant, you were 56.7% effective against protection of the Delta Omicron, but 20.4% against Omicron. So Delta 56, 20% Omicron. I want to make sure that I'm absolutely clear regarding this particular study. If you just had 1 dose, protection against Delta was 56%. You had less protection against Omicron. All right, so the vaccine effectiveness of a 2-dose Moderna vaccine against Omicron infection was 44% at 14 to 90 days, but fell quickly. 3 doses, however, resulted in a vaccine effectiveness of 93.7% against Delta at 14 to 60 days and 86% after 60 days against Omicron infection. The vaccine effectiveness was 3 doses of 71% at 14 to 60 days and fell to 47% after 60 days. So again, in a 2-dose regimen, you received more protection against Delta infection. Now, I want to talk, I'm making sure that I'm being specific here. That's why the name of the show is Protection Against Infection. This is what we're specifically speaking to. So, in a 2-dose regimen against Delta, you were in pretty good shape for Delta. All right. So just for everyone out there that's not understanding or following the topic of the conversation, this is about infection. Okay. At the moment, Omicron, if you had a 2-dose regimen, you're 71%. Well, at the 3rd dose, you're 71%. Sorry. So 2-dose, you're 44. Let me run it back to you. 1 dose against Omicron, you're 20%. 2 doses against Omicron, 44%. 3 doses against Omicron, you are 71%. After 60 days, protection against infection fail. Against Delta, 1 dose 56%, 2 doses gets up to 90%. Well, like, I'm just rounding up a little bit, but it's like 86%. And yeah, somewhere around there. Hold up. 3 doses is 86% against Delta. It's like yeah. And then you're good to go. So this is against infection. Remember, Delta had breakthrough infections, but they were not at higher rates. So we're gonna sum all of this back up in a minute, and I'm gonna just go back over that. Yeah, this is strictly infection. Severity of sickness, if you're healthy, that's very low. But I do have a study that against hospitalization, and we're going to uncover some of that severity of chronic disease, as you can see. So in a few minutes. So 3 doses was 29% effective against Omicron infection among 30 people with compromised immune systems, compared to 75% in the non-immunocompromised counterparts. All right. So immunocompromised, 30% of the immunocompromised received some protection against infection, while 75% of the people that were non-immunocompromised counterparts had some sort of protection. An analysis that excluded people in impaired immune systems showed a 3-dose vaccine effectiveness against Omicron was 51% after 60 days. The full 3-dose vaccine regimen was 70% effective against Omicron infection in participants older than 65, while 64% among the younger. So the older people were afforded more protection upon a 3rd dose against Omicron than younger. And I want to throw something out there just for people to fully understand. Older people are still wearing masks, still distancing, washing their hands, of course. They're taking up the proper precautions, and they're not as out as younger people. So that protection level has to factor in the point of how the older people maneuver and continue to maneuver during this pandemic. So the vaccine effectiveness after the same regimen against Omicron infection in COVID naive patients older than 65 was 70%, while it was 64.5 in the younger patients. So to run that down again, what we just ran through are statistical numbers regarding protection against infection from the Delta and Omicron variant. 1 dose of Delta, 56% against Delta. All right. 2 dose, a 2-dose regimen against really I just should focus on Omicron. So all right, 1 dose, 20%. 2 doses against Omicron, 44%. 3 doses against Omicron, around 74%. 71, 74, it's a range, right? Between 14 to 60 days. After that, it fell to 47% after 60 days. The 3-dose were 29% effective against Omicron for immunocompromised. And those that were not immunocompromised, average was 75.5. All right. So hold on 1 second, y'all. All right. So all 4 hospitalized patients, because we're dealing with 4 specific hospitalized patients. Because I think, Jehudi, you asked the question, do you have the data on the severity of sickness if you're healthy? Well, what we're going to find out is this. Vaccine effectiveness against hospitalization with Delta or Omicron infection after 3 doses was greater than 99% across the study population. So no matter what, the 3 doses was greater than 99%. Whether Delta or Omicron infection, hospitalizations 99%. Of the 4 patients that was hospitalized with Omicron infections who had received 3 doses of the vaccines were all older, 60 years old, and had chronic disease. One had a compromised immune system. The researchers said that waning vaccine effectiveness against Omicron infection within 3 months after the second dose suggests that a shorter interval between the second and third doses could boost immunity. People with compromised immune systems also need to continue follow up, they added. Lack of protection against Omicron infection in the immunocompromised population underscores the importance of monitoring the effectiveness of the recommended fourth dose, aka booster, for this population. Continued monitoring of vaccine effectiveness against Omicron infection and hospitalization is immunocompetent and immunocompromised individuals and surveillance for the emergence of new SARS-CoV-2 variants warranted to inform future vaccination strategies. So the study determined that between the 14, because after 14 days you're considered fully vaccinated, right? After you've had your second dose, 14 days after your second dose, you're fully vaccinated. But if you only had one vaccine and you were partially vaccinated, you had protection. I don't know what Ben, I'm live, bro. All right, so okay, so one dose against Omicron was not effective against infection. It was 20%. So 20% of the people who only had one dose would receive some type of protection against infection, while 56 one dose against Delta. My dog just came up here and went into his cage and went to sleep, so you might hear him snoring. All right, so 2 doses of Moderna against Omicron infection was 44% between 14 and 90 days, but failed. 3 doses resulted in vaccine effectiveness was 93% for Delta within 14 to 60 days, but 86% after 60 days. Against Omicron infection, vaccine effectiveness was 71% between 14 and 60, but fell to 47.4 after 60 days. So I want to stress that. So to answer your question, Jehudi, about the severity of sickness, if you're healthy, the severity of sickness, if you're a healthy person infected with Omicron and you're not vaccinated, can vary. Um, remember, 99% of the hospitalizations and deaths are in the unvaccinated people, whether you're fully healthy or not. Fully healthy people do be hospitalized. The severity is more, but Omicron variant is not as severe as Delta as far as creating the spread of disease and an increase in sickness or symptoms. So I just wanted to come on briefly and discuss that and kind of answer a couple of questions. But hold on, let me see if I can get to this other study. One second. And for the record, vaccinated people, whether you've been infected and then got vaccinated, or you just been vaccinated and you had a breakthrough, you're afforded protection. You're afforded protection if you've caught COVID and then been vaccinated. Your hybrid immunity provides you a level of protection that is great. No problem. Because your body's able to recognize the virus in two different ways. One, the spike, the other is whatever the natural infection trained the immune system. So this was published, as you can see, on the 16th. This is COVID-19 cases, hospitalizations, and deaths by vaccination status, Washington State Department. And this is for people who think that they're not tracking by vaccination status. So this is proof positive that they're tracking cases, hospitalizations, and deaths by vaccine status. I have to stress that. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of the summary, and then I'm gonna wrap up. So, all right. So here's the summary. Unvaccinated 12 to 34-year-olds in Washington are 3 times more likely to get COVID-19 compared to fully vaccinated people that are 12 to 34 years old. 5 times more likely to be hospitalized with COVID with fully vaccinated 12 to 34 years old. Unvaccinated 35 to 64-year-olds are 4 times more likely to get COVID-19 compared to fully vaccinated people between 35 and 64. 7 times more likely to be hospitalized. So unvaccinated people between 12 and 34 are 3 times more likely to get COVID. Five more times likely to be hospitalized. 35 and older, between 35 and 64, 4 times likely to get COVID, 7 times more likely to be hospitalized. Unvaccinated people 65 and older are 6 times more likely to get COVID, 8 times more likely to be hospitalized, 7 times more likely to die. So the background of this particular study is a critical tool for containing the COVID-19 pandemic. COVID-19 vaccines are highly effective and greatly reduce the risk of severe illness, hospitalizations, and death. In this report, it provides basically that overview of everything that we actually talked about, but they focused on the twofold. And as you can see in the summary, they went to work. So, let's get into the breakdown of what this report is basically saying. It's 18 pages. Fully vaccinated people, those who have reached the 2 weeks after receiving the vaccine. Remember, I said that earlier. Partial vaccinated is people 2 weeks after receiving one shot. Unvaccinated people have not received a single dose. All right. Remember, you are considered fully vaccinated 2 weeks after your second dose. So here's the trends in the COVID-19 hospitalizations by rate. Here's their chart. And as you can see, the spikes. If we focus here on partial, yellow, blue is fully, and maroonish or the big spike, orangish, brownish, that's the unvaccinated people. And that's this year. You look at it, January 22nd, 2022, coming up into now. So there was a huge spike there. And this is how they found out that 12 to 34-year-olds are 3 times higher in the unvaccinated population than in the fully vaccinated population to get COVID cases. All right. Another map. This is for the 65 plus. Same color code. Unvaccinated is at the top. Partial is yellow. Fully is below. And this is 4 times higher over a 7-day period per 100,000 pop. And the 65 and older. Unvaccinated people are 6 times more likely to get a COVID case. They continue that data with substantiating what was already summarized. This study is unique because this shows that on a case-by-case basis, they're tracking infections, hospitalizations, and deaths strategically to provide an input of how well the vaccines are working or if they're not working. So after giving you the summary, you really don't have to deal with anything, but look at that. Let me go back up real quick. Look at these numbers. 5, 7, 8 times. So depending on the age and your vaccine status, the impact increases. But these deaths, though, 7 times more higher. For women, men and women out there that are African American that are out here talking about I ain't getting vaccinated and you 65 plus, you crazy. You crazy. Like crazy. Um, and I hate to say that, but you are. You playing with your life. I'm gonna drop this study though in the chat for anybody that actually want to read it. I mean, after you just get past the summary and then you go in and qualify the actual data, it's just more specific. It's a wrap. The data is there. So I guess they're gonna say news media outlets or someone created all of this to try to push the vaccine on people. No, this is data. This is substantiated. You can go cross-reference and verify this information. You can go to Washington State's health department to substantiate this submission. And it's going and make sure that all the information aligns. Look at that by the counties. Look at this. Percent of the population who are fully vaccinated, partial, who are unvaccinated, my bad. 12 plus. Crazy numbers, man. 50.6% in one county. Ain't even that many people there. But it continues. And this is the most important part for me is the methods, the data sources. So this is how they actually got to what they got to in this. There were 3 data sources for the metrics. They use Washington Disease Reporting System. So if you want to verify or substantiate the sources, here we go. WDRS, Washington Immunization Information System, WAIIS, Washington Health and Life Events System, WELS. Those are the 3 metrics that was used in this reporting. All right. So now we know where they got the information from and how it was utilized. It says all rates presented in this report are calculated using the Washington State population distribution based on Office of Financial Management from April 1st, 2020 population estimates to better reflect the true rates of COVID-19 case hospitalizations and deaths in this report. Calculations include only the 12 and older population because they are eligible to be vaccinated. And then they give you some definitions. They should have did this definition part on the front side and the methods on the front side. But when you're doing scientific studies, you have to understand that it has to include their methodology somewhere in there. And if they have definitions, it's going to have their definitions in there as well. That's when you know you're dealing with science or pseudoscience. All right. So they basically are defining what vaccinated, fully vaccinated people are and so forth, what breakthrough means and on and on. And this is how they rated the calculations, 7 days, as mentioned. I think this study was important. It gives you and I opportunity to be able to conjure up our own studies if we wanted to do it per population via Facebook or something like that. So I'll make sure that y'all get this. I'm going to drop this in the chat, but I'm also going to put it in the description for people who want to go back and, like I said, cross-reference. I'm all about that. All right, so before I get out of here, man, anybody got any questions, comments, concerns, emotional rants, any new pseudo claims that you've been hearing? I'm checking. I see some of y'all have joined the party a little late. It's all good. All right, so in the description of the video, you should have all the information regarding everything that we actually talked about in this. I do want to say something though, to substantiate this. We knew that they were working on tests like this because of antibody treatment. So they wanted to know specifically how many doses would do a better job at protection against infection. Since the world was going crazy over infection, and that the vaccines to them were not working because of the breakthrough infections. However, the vaccines are designed to prevent the spread of infectious disease, hospitalizations, and death. To protect against infection is an added bonus. So, should you get a another dose? Well, I'm gonna say no, not at this time. Because your initial vaccine dosage provides you a level of protection that prevents you from being hospitalized and dying. I sound hoarse, I know. So there's some other stuff that we'll talk about in the future, especially with vaccinations or unvaccinated children. Remember that Miss C remains very rare in young people. Um, you had people that was trying to come up with some type of arguments to offset vaccinating children, but that was out of ignorance and not out of intelligence. There was a study that was also published yesterday that verified, well, substantiated a lot of that data. And right now, out of the 230 plus or 50 plus million people that have received at least one dose of the vaccine, 99.98% of those people have not died. So for all the people that said they didn't want to put the poison in their body, 99% of y'all have died. 8 out of the 940, well, I say 950,000 deaths. 99.98% of those deaths were in unvaccinated people. And if you cut that in half, since we've had a vaccine rollout, 400 plus thousand people since the vaccine rollout have died. That's 400,000 preventable deaths. So on that note, man, let me see. What happened? What happened, Teddy? One of my family members just passed away from COVID-19. The person was against the shot. Damn. Sorry, bro. Yeah, condolences to you and your family, bro. It's sad, bro. That's what I keep saying, man. We tripping. We tripping with no map. Zane says, what about the doses before Omicron variant? 2 doses was cool. You get more protection against Delta with an extra shot. Remember initially Moderna was 87%, 84% effective against the spread of infectious disease, hospitalizations, and death. Really wasn't too many breakthroughs early on. It was the struggles was with Johnson and Johnson and Pfizer and not Moderna. It still remained high, but as far as the other variants, a 2-dose regimen is cool. So you're protected against all these other variants. The variant of concern right now is Omicron because it's evasiveness, it's elusiveness to evade or escape vaccine protection. And the second part of your question, um, they still got the same level of protection. You're still in the 94%. So and they're good against infection. So you're not really being faded by those. It's the more recent that's more of a problem or threat. Hey, but look, man, listen, Teddy. I know that you was probably trying to do your job to educate your people, man, to get them vaccinated and to help them understand the severity of the situation that we're in. I know you know what I mean. Um, Anything that we can do within reach, we're here for you, bro. If you want to talk about it, if you want to go live and talk about it, just hit me up. Let me know. We'll set up a time, a day, or whatever to actually get into that. But I don't wanna hold everybody else up today. You know what I mean? I gotta get to work here shortly. But tune into Jehudi Ma'at's YouTube channel. We're supposed to be expecting a live from Brother Jehuti. So make sure if you're not subscribed to Jehudi Ma'at, he's in the chat. Click on his name, go subscribe to his channel. Tune into the show that he's about to put down, whether it's um, some funny business, some historical moments, or music. Our dear brother Jehudi Ma'at, Sin E, Jehuti Ma'at, got that work for you. Very sharp, brother. All right. Yeah, we're gonna tap into Jehudi Ma'at and we're gonna deal with pure black comment. Yeah, we're gonna line pure black up. Peace out.